Lydia Wilson loved attention. Every day, she stood in front of her mirror, brushing her long, shiny wig. Her room was filled with bright lights, fake designer bags, and empty perfume bottles that looked expensive but weren't. On social media, Lydia lived like a queen. She posted pictures in fancy clothes she borrowed from friends. She made sure every photo looked perfect. People liked her posts. Some even called her the real slay queen. But in real life, Lydia was tired of pretending. She wanted a life where she didn't have to fake it. She wanted real money, real bags, and real luxury. One evening, while scrolling through her phone, Lydia got a message from a woman named Bella. Bella claimed to work with a big fashion agency in Italy. She said they were looking for pretty girls with style. Lydia's heart jumped. Bella sent pictures of other girls posing in Italy with expensive cars and clothes. "This can be you," she wrote. "We'll pay for your flight and give you a house. All you need to do is travel." Lydia didn't think twice. She felt lucky. She ran to her best friend, Rose, screaming, "Rose, I'm going to Italy. My life is about to change forever." Rose looked worried. "Lydia, are you sure this is real? It sounds too good to be true." But Lydia didn't want to hear that. She was already packing her bags in her mind. That night, she lay in bed, smiling. She could see herself walking on Italian streets, wearing real designer heels. She whispered to herself, "I will be a real queen." But Lydia had no idea. She was walking straight into a trap. The morning of her flight, Lydia felt like a princess. Her suitcase was packed with all her favorite outfits. She even included extra wigs and makeup, just in case. She told her mother she was going on a fashion trip, and her mother smiled but looked a little worried. At the airport, Lydia's phone kept buzzing with messages from Bella. "We'll meet you at the Rome airport," one said. Another added, "Don't worry. Everything is ready for you." Lydia smiled, imagining a luxurious life ahead. The flight was long, but Lydia didn't sleep. She stared out the window at the clouds, dreaming of Italy's streets, shopping malls, and fancy restaurants. She imagined herself in photo shoots, wearing elegant dresses. In her mind, this was the start of her new life, the life she had always wanted. When she landed in Rome, a black car was waiting. Bella was there, smiling, holding a clipboard. "Welcome, Lydia. You're going to love it here," she said. Lydia's heart raced. She waved at the airport crowd and felt famous already. Inside the car, Bella spoke quickly. "We have a lovely house ready for you. You'll meet other girls your age soon. Italy will be your playground." Lydia felt butterflies. Everything seemed real. Everything seemed perfect, but the streets looked different than in the pictures Bella had sent. The houses were small, and the people walking around looked busy and serious, not glamorous like in the photos. Lydia shrugged it off. "Maybe it's just the neighborhood," she whispered to herself. When they arrived at the house, Lydia stepped inside and froze. The place was dark and empty. There was no furniture, no decoration, just a few old chairs and a cold kitchen. Her excitement began to shake. Something didn't feel right. Bella noticed her hesitation. "Don't worry, darling. Everything will be perfect once you start working," she said, smiling, but her eyes didn't sparkle. Lydia smiled back, but deep down, a tiny seed of fear had already started to grow. The next morning, Lydia woke up to strange voices. She wasn't in a hotel. She was in a locked room with 3 other girls. They looked tired, like people who hadn't smiled in a long time. One of them whispered, "New girl?" Lydia nodded nervously. The girl's name was Grace. She had been in Italy for 3 months. Her once beautiful hair was now rough and short. Her makeup bag sat on the floor, empty. "Where are the fashion shows?" Lydia asked, forcing a smile. Grace stared at her with sad eyes. There are no shows. Bella lied to you. Lydia's heart skipped a beat. What do you mean? Grace leaned closer. We are not models. We are their property. They make us work for them. If you try to run, they will hurt you. Before Lydia could speak, the door opened. Bella walked in with two men in black jackets. Her warm smile from the airport was gone. Her voice was sharp now. Lydia, you belong here. No more pretending. No more slay queen. You will work like the others. Lydia's hands shook. I don't understand, she whispered. Bella laughed coldly. Oh, you will. The men dragged Grace out of the room. Lydia heard shouting from the hallway. She felt frozen, like a doll trapped in a box. Later that night, Lydia tried to open the door, but it was locked from the outside. The small window was covered with iron bars. There was nowhere to go. She sat on the floor, hugging her knees. Just yesterday, she was dreaming about luxury. Today, she was a prisoner in a foreign land. The bright lights of her fake life were gone. The darkness was real now. The next day, Lydia sat quietly in the corner of the cold room. Grace came back with a bruise on her arm and a swollen lip. She didn't say a word. She didn't need to. Lydia understood everything. A man named Victor came into the room with a list in his hand. From today, you work. If you refuse, you'll suffer, he said in a deep voice. He pointed at Lydia. You start tonight. Lydia's heart pounded so hard she could hear it in her ears. No, she whispered. But Victor laughed. No isn't an option. That night, they forced Lydia to dress up in short, shiny clothes. Bella stood beside her like a boss. You wanted a rich life, Bella said coldly. Here it is. Work for it. Lydia's legs shook as they pushed her into a car. She saw the city lights flashing by. They looked beautiful from a distance but felt like knives cutting into her hope. She remembered how excited she had been about Italy. Now, she wished she had never opened that message. They took her to a street where other girls stood in the cold. Men drove by slowly, pointing and staring like they were shopping. Lydia felt sick. She turned to Bella with tears in her eyes. Please let me go. I'll do anything. Bella leaned closer. You can't go home. Your passport is with us. If you try to run, we'll make you disappear. No one will ever find you. Lydia felt her soul break. The crown she had dreamed of was gone. In its place was a heavy chain. For the first time in her life, she wished she had listened to her best friend. The days passed like shadows. Lydia lost count of how many nights she was forced to work on the cold streets. The once bold and confident slay queen was now quiet, weak, and scared. Her makeup no longer made her shine. It was just a mask hiding her pain. One night, after a long and painful shift, she returned to the dark house. Grace sat beside her, whispering softly, I've been here too long. But I know a way out. Lydia's eyes widened. A way out. Grace nodded carefully. There's a guard who falls asleep during his shift. If we can reach the gate at the right time, we might escape. But it's dangerous. If they catch us, we'll never be free again. Lydia felt fear crawl up her spine. But inside her, a small spark lit up. She had made a mistake coming here, but she wasn't ready to die in this place. The next night, they watched closely. The guard yawned and leaned against the wall, his eyes closing slowly. Lydia's hands were shaking, but Grace squeezed them gently. Be brave, she whispered. They tiptoed through the hallway, avoiding the creaky spots on the floor. Lydia held her breath as they reached the gate. She could feel her heartbeat in her ears. Freedom was just a few steps away, but just as they pushed the gate, a door slammed behind them. Where do you think you're going? Bella's voice cut through the night like a knife. Lydia froze. The guard woke up, and two men rushed toward them. Grace grabbed Lydia's hand. "Run!" she screamed. They dashed toward the street, their feet slapping the ground. Alarms went off behind them. For the first time since she arrived in Italy, Lydia wasn't just surviving. She was fighting for her life.
The cold air slapped Lydia's face as she and Grace ran into the dark street. Their legs moved fast, but their fear was faster. Behind them, angry voices shouted. Flashlights cut through the night like sharp blades. "Don't look back!" Grace yelled. But Lydia did. Bella's men were chasing them, their heavy boots pounding the ground. They turned a sharp corner and ducked behind an old bakery. Lydia's breath came in quick gasps. Her heart was beating so loudly it felt like everyone could hear it. Grace held her arm tight. "We can't stop now. If they catch us, it's over." Lydia nodded, wiping the tears from her face. Her wig was slipping off, and her shoes were tearing, but none of that mattered anymore. She just wanted to be free. They ran through narrow alleys, past closed shops and broken fences. A dog barked in the distance. Somewhere, a siren wailed. For the first time, the city didn't look like a dream. It looked like a maze. Suddenly, a flashlight beam swept over them. "There they are!" One of the men shouted. Lydia screamed, and they started running again. Grace spotted a small tunnel under a bridge. "In here," she whispered. They crawled inside, shivering. The space was cold and wet, but it hid them. Bella's men ran past the tunnel, not noticing them in the darkness. Lydia held her breath until the footsteps faded away. Tears rolled down her cheeks. Grace touched her hand gently. "We're not safe yet. We need help, real help." Lydia nodded. For the first time since she came to Italy, she saw something she thought she had lost, a little hope. She whispered, "I'm not going back."
After hours of crawling through the dark tunnel, Lydia and Grace finally emerged near a quiet street. The city lights looked less scary now, but they still didn't know where to go. "We need someone to trust," Grace whispered. "Someone who can call the police or the embassy." Lydia spotted a small cafe that was still open. She felt nervous but nodded. They pushed open the door, and a kind-looking woman behind the counter smiled at them. "Can I help you?" the woman asked. Lydia's voice shook. We need help. Please. We're in danger." The woman's eyes widened. "Come inside. Sit down. I'll call the authorities." For the first time since arriving in Italy, Lydia felt safe. Her hands stopped shaking. Grace wiped her tears and whispered, "Maybe this is the end of our nightmare." The woman listened to their story carefully and spoke softly. "You're very brave to escape. The police will take care of you. And you'll be sent home safely." Lydia's heart felt like it might explode. She thought about her fake life on social media, the borrowed wigs, and the dreams that had led her here. They didn't matter anymore. What mattered now was freedom. Hours later, the police came. Bella and her men were arrested. Lydia watched from a distance as the people who had controlled her life were taken away. She felt a strange mix of relief and anger. Grace hugged her tightly. "We made it," she whispered. Lydia smiled, tears streaming down her face. "Yes," she said. "We made it. And nothing will ever control me again." That night, Lydia lay on a soft bed in a safe place. She looked at the ceiling and whispered to herself, "I am free. I will never pretend to be someone I'm not again." For the first time, her heart felt light. The crown she had dreamed of wasn't fake anymore. It was her courage, and that could never be stolen. Months later, Lydia stood in front of her mirror at home. The sunlight spilled into her room, lighting up her soft hair and bright eyes. She no longer needed fake designer bags or borrowed wigs to feel powerful. Her journey had been terrifying, but it had changed her. She had survived something no one should ever endure. She had lost her slay queen life on social media, but she had gained herself strong, brave, and real. Lydia now spent her days helping other young girls. She spoke at schools, online workshops, and community centers. She told her story honestly, warning them about fake promises, glamorous lies, and the dangers of chasing a life that isn't real. I was once a slay queen, Lydia said during one speech. I wanted money, likes, and fame. But I almost lost my freedom and my life. Now I know that true power comes from courage, honesty, and self-respect. Her social media followers still watched her, but now she posted about real life, real struggles, and real victories. People admired her not for the clothes she wore, but for the strength she carried. One evening, Lydia met Grace at a small cafe. They laughed about the past, the danger, and their escape. We were lucky, Grace said. Most girls don't get a second chance. Lydia smiled. We made it because we chose to be brave. And we'll help others make it too. She looked at her reflection one last time and whispered, I am no longer a fake queen. I am a free queen. A real one. The light in her eyes was brighter than any spotlight, stronger than any designer bag, and more valuable than any social media like. Lydia had lost a false crown but found herself, and that was the most powerful crown of all. Don't forget to like, share and subscribe to my YouTube channel, Shishi Fairytales.